Hello and welcome to Wake Up with Arghon. I'm Lauren Brown, Arghon's Chief Creative Officer, here with Collie Brown, Arghon's CEO and founder. And we are going to talk about all things artificial intelligence. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and set your notifications so you can see whenever we update. All right, so let's get into it. Hi, Collie.
Hey, Lauren.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, so we're going to do a segment that we like to do very often. It's called Artificial Irrelevance, and basically what that is a game where we go through the headlines and we decide, is this headline relevant or irrelevant to artificial intelligence?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
All right, so the first one here is how music generated by artificial intelligence is reshaping the industry, not destroying it. And this is music. So what do you think about generally like artificial intelligence and its impact on music and the entertainment industry? And is it relevant? Is it irrelevant?
Well, that headline says generated.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna...
You gotta say if it's relevant or irrelevant.
I'm gonna say irrelevant, and the reason I'm gonna say irrelevant is because music is definitely relevant to AI, or AI is really relevant to music, mm-hmm. but not in that way. I mean, you know, you can have... No, it's not relevant because, yes, you can generate music with AI, but until it starts to replace, you know, artists or band members or whatever it is, it's just a novelty, really. But music itself, the whole field of music, in terms of how you market it and all of that stuff.
Like distribution? Distribution,
yes. AI is very, very relevant. So I'm gonna say not relevant.
Okay, so, all right, the next one is oil producers turn to artificial intelligence for efficiency. So essentially they are using it to simplify their logistics and whatever, it's the oil industry. Do you find AI in the oil industry relevant or irrelevant?
No, AI in the oil industry is relevant, but not the way not that headline, because this is one of those cases where, you know, everybody's calling everything AI, and once you start to call everything AI, then you're losing, you know, traditionally what people know as AI. Mm-hmm. That's irrelevant.
Oh wait, but here's the thing. What they say is, when we look at, okay, this is a quote from the site. It says, when we look at a lot of the major operators, everybody has pretty much the same problem. For the last 5 or 10 years, they've been told they need to acquire data and store data. Anyway, it seems to be like it's majority about how they manage the logistics of the oil industry, as opposed to like
that,
you know,
again,
like a robot literally taking the oil out of the ground.
But that headline wasn't about robots. That's about the oil industry, mm-hmm. and again, they're stretching the definition of AI here, mm-hmm. and so I'm going to say no, it's not relevant. I mean, someone could there's lots of cases where you can make with artificial intelligence in the field, but not mm-hmm. the way they're describing it here. Mm-hmm. They're being overbroad in terms of AI.
Yeah, it sounds like they're kind of really mixing that with probably a little bit of like machine learning, but also like they're talking about like getting data scientists and it just...
They're not even talking about machine learning, they're talking about simply data science. So before everybody jumped on this whole AI bandwagon and called everything AI, we used to call it data analytics. I mean, where you simply look at the data and you have algorithms that go through it and figure out certain things. Mm-hmm. That's not AI, that was the old... What's happening now is that it's cool to call everything AI. So mm-hmm. so people just labeling everything AI. But the reality is that's the old-fashioned data analytics. You've got a ton of data. You need to make sense of it. You know, you want to be able to go in there and find the nuggets. Mm-hmm. That's the old-fashioned data analytics, not AI. I'm sorry, but I'm going to draw the line somewhere.
Okay, so you're saying it's artificially irrelevant.
Artificially relevant.
Okay. So the next headline that we've got here is, it's talking about the impact of artificial intelligence on 2018's top HR trends. And so it's saying HR becomes a strategic business partner. You got renewed emphasis on employee productivity, focus on people's analytics, learning in real time. So that's essentially what they're talking about.
That's relevant. That's artificially relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
because there is, whenever you're dealing with humans, there's a whole host of things that you can do productivity-wise, and one of them obviously is to learn about the typical employee you have, for example, and you can streamline their services and how they access things using the AI. In other words, they could have their AI that they're interacting with that provides them services, provides them the kind of information that they need. So yeah, it's artificially relevant.
Okay, cool. So we got, what is that, like the first one that you said is 1 out of what, 4 so far? All right, so there's just news about a medical AI securing $115 million in funding to harness the power of AI for the medical industry. How relevant is that? Artificially relevant or artificially irrelevant?
Artificially relevant, but they haven't given you much in that headline. But we in Arghon have a whole aspect of health. That's a capability is built into Arghon, so we know it's artificially relevant. So yes.
Okay. All right. I actually can't remember where I found this, but it had said that artificial intelligence essentially is ready for prime time. That's the headline. Is that artificially relevant or artificially irrelevant? I think I know what you'll say, but
it is ready for.
Irrelevant or irrelevant first?
It's relevant.
Okay.
Oh boy, that's a loaded thing.
Yeah, so unload it.
Ready for prime time. You know, prime time means everything is working fine. It means this thing is, well, it is new, and there's a lot that we have to still left to build. So we're just building up the services. So ready for prime time? I guess you could say that, but I mean, there's so much more to build. Even in the personal AI space, there's just so much more to build. You know, headlines like that really don't do justice to AI because you're trying to force a thing that is not quite, there yet. Even though you might have, your people are interacting with these AIs, from the retailers and stuff like that. There's so much more that AI will do.
Are you saying that as someone who just understands AI specifically? Are you coming from the perspective of because you're someone who has an AI? So
I'm coming from both actually, because we have an AI. So obviously I'm a little bit more realistic than most people because we know what it takes to go from point A to point B. And we know that artificial intelligence right now and personal AI in particular, because that's where we specialize. There's lots of AI you can use for lots of different things, but we specialize in personal AI where
it connects people to their world.
Essentially, it's managing your world.
Yeah.
Right, the individual.
Yeah.
And there is so much more. First of all, in terms of people's expectation or in terms of how people's reception to it, it's still new. Most people don't realize that AI is going to come in eventually and help you with your health. If you didn't exercise today, it's going to say to you, hey, Johnny or Mary or whoever you are, you didn't get your quota of exercise. You need to kind of step it up tomorrow, step up your game. So there's a lot more, and but that will take time because technology can't outpace people. It's fine. You can only roll out technology at people's ability to adapt.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Sure.
Though? All right. So that article is essentially talking about a paper released by McKinsey Global Institute, notes from the AI frontier, insights from hundreds of cases. And one of the quotes in there says, the 2 most important takeaways are that the best AI systems have consistently outperformed humans since 2015, and specifically in the transport and logistics industry. AI can improve performance over the analytics techniques of 89%, over other analytics techniques of 89%. In other words, the technology is maturing and becoming commercially viable, and transportation and logistics stands to gain more from AI than almost any other industry. And then it also found that AI will create $400 to $500 billion in value in transport alone, which is about 4.9% of industry revenue.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts given that
perspective? I see where they're coming from. In transport, it has. There's lots of things you can apply AI to. Efficiency, for example. So let's say you have a car service and you have 10 cars, and people are booking rides. You need AI to kind of look through the rides coming in and do a much better, in fact, it'll do a much better job than humans in terms of streamlining who gets what ride and when and so forth. And you'll walk away with efficiency in terms of fuel economy and just a better experience. Also, wait times will be better managed. So it has a significant opportunity in transport.
What about this statement where it says that the best AIs have been outperforming humans since 2015? Is that a limited scope?
Exactly. This is so anything. I mean, the truth is, I don't even need AI. I can get a computer and have it count to 1 billion, and I will miss some numbers. It won't miss a number.
So it's like playing solitaire on the computer versus the computer, where of course it'll beat you because it's able to compute.
In limited circumstances, yes, but AI is getting smarter and more intelligent. But come on, guys. I mean, let's not hype. Let's be realistic, because what happens is when you hype things, you build an expectation that is just unreal, and then people get disappointed. AI is fast improving. There's significant every year. AI capability is probably doubling or tripling. But when you're starting from a small number, it takes a while to get you to really see the
impact.
But most importantly is the average person on the street. How is AI impacting them on a daily basis? How are they interacting with AI? That's one measure of success. The other measure of success is for companies behind the scenes. How is AI helping them to streamline their business and bring in more customers and things like that? That's another metrics. And you're going to see more of the company part than you see the user part, but you really have to bring both of them together. Yes.
Okay, so what I'm gathering is that where it's saying artificial intelligence is ready for prime time, you're saying it's relevant with a caveat.
With a huge caveat.
And that caveat is essentially that some areas it's more ahead than others, but there's still a long way to go.
A huge way to go, and anybody who tells you otherwise, it certainly haven't built an AI. There's a long way to go.
All right, so that concludes our artificially irrelevant section. So we're just gonna chat a little bit, and then and I have essentially the question that I have to ask you is, when will everyone has this question about like, when are we gonna live like the Jetsons? When are we gonna have the smart home, the food that prints itself right onto our plate, and it's not just carbon mush? When do you see something like that actually being manifest? When will we live in the future?
Well, that's a number of years down the road.
What does that mean?
So let me break it down in a different way. So
break it down as quickly as you can.
Right. Technology is not a linear thing. There's a progression over time, and so over time, aspects of it get built up and deployed, and then more things are added and more capabilities are added over time. In terms of like things like printing food and things like that, I don't know if I'd want my food printed, at least right now. No, could you print food? Sure, you could.
So in terms of, you said you didn't want to have your food printed.
Right. At least not now.
Yeah.
Because if you think about how you're gonna reconstruct food, I mean, unless you go down to the cellular level, that's not where printers are. Whether you're using printers to print food or anything like that, it's more just a paste, and you paste.
It glues it into a shape.
It essentially, yes.
Okay.
And if you were gonna bake, that's kind of like something very similar as well. But in terms of beyond things like food, beyond where we talk about just everyday life.
Yeah, we have a while.
We have a while to go, because think about this for a second.
Wait, so
there are thermostats. There are probably about 4 or 5 main thermostats now.
Okay.
That have the ability to be controlled by AIs and are on an app, smartphone app. They have, manufacturers are rolling them out. But there's so many other things, and here's the other part of it. For things to really work, streamlined and become seamless in people's lives, standards have to be set.
Okay, so until we have standards, and until the food actually tastes good that we print, we can basically say it'll be a little time.
It's a novelty.
We get to the future.
Yeah,
all right. Well,
novelty.
Thank you so much, Collie, for your opinions and ideas on what is relevant, what is not relevant. And thank you, viewers, so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and send in your questions. We like to hear what you have to say, and we can comment on that next time, see if it's relevant or irrelevant. And to download Arghon, go to www.arghon.com, and that's ARGHON. Alrighty, thank you. See you later.
Subscribe to this channel, where weekly we'll explore what it means to connect to your world through artificial intelligence. And to be part of the Arghon journey, follow us on social media.